My name is Scott Gordon, and for about a decade and a half, I've been a volunteer with the Zoloto Ukrainian Dance. Currently, I'm serving as treasurer, but I volunteer in a lot of other areas as well. I do pretty much everything non-dancing related. I do a lot of the administration, finances, fundraising, public relations, media, obviously. Just basically everything we can to keep the studios up and running so that the dance classes can continue. Our mission is to pass along the traditions of Ukrainian heritage to the next generation, but to do so at a very high standard. We want to make sure that the kids perform at the absolute best that they can. So there's no excuse that really is acceptable. If they are here and they're wanting to be serious about it, we want them to have fun and enjoy it, but we also want them to be very respectful of the traditions. We do, on top of the dance, is whenever possible, we try and do workshops with the children so that we're passing on things beyond the dance so that they learn. In the past, we've done language workshops, keeping the Ukrainian language alive. We've done different arts and crafts, traditional cooking, things like that, so that they can learn how to do it themselves and then be able to enjoy that for themselves and then eventually maybe pass that on to their children. We also take a lot of pride in, we produce our own Folklorama Pavilion. Folklorama is the world's largest, longest running multicultural festival. So we're very proud that we produce the Spirit of Ukraine Pavilion, which gets a lot of people from not just Winnipeg and Manitoba, but tourists from across Canada, the States, and even we've had people from around the world get to come, celebrate the culture, learn more about our traditions, and just overall truly enjoy what we have to offer. I always tell people you should never date a Ukrainian girl, it's just way too much work. But Kara Smatsky and her family started Zolato back in 1991, and that family was very dedicated to the Ukrainian arts, and they really made something that has lasted over 3 decades, a very high standard of keeping those arts alive and being respected as they deserve to be. Zoloto in Ukrainian means gold, and that's sort of the standard the family wanted. They wanted to be the absolute best while respecting the art. So Karis spent a lot of time doing 2 different workshops, instructor conferences, choreography conferences, and getting a chance to learn as much as possible, and she would pass that on. And the initial people she got to dance with perform throughout the city and surrounding area, and the demand for their performances grew and grew, and the people expected some great things out of them that they started asking if they could then teach their children to dance, and that's when the dance school started soon after. Ukraine has a very vast, diverse style in music, choreography, and in the traditional costume from one corner to the next. It's one of the largest countries in Europe, and as you travel from one side to the other, you see vast differences. From the Carpathian Mountains down through the plains, through Poltava and Policia, vast differences in what you would see as the traditional ethnic dance, costume, music, traditions even. And one thing that's very interesting with Ukraine, the terrain really seems to dictate a lot of the culture. In the Carpathian Mountains, with Hutzul or Bukovanian, you see very, very tight, compact dance moves. They're very close to the body because it's mountainous. It's very heavily forested, so obviously not a lot of room. You also see the costumes layered, heavy wool. Of course, here in the mountains, it's colder. Whereas you get out to Poltava, Policia, you see much more flowing costumes, very billowing and loose. And the dance moves are very wide, sweeping range so that they can really take advantage of the space that they have to work with. So it's very unique seeing how everything that is Ukrainian is still very vastly different. And another interesting fact I like to tell people, just like in Scotland, how the tartan, you can tell a person's clan by the pattern that's written. The Vyshyvanka, the famous Ukrainian embroidered shirt, the pattern and color can actually dictate where a person is from. So you could look at someone's shirt and be able to tell what region they're from.
My name is Michael Iwashko. My Ukrainian heritage comes from my dad's side. He grew up in the small town of Sandy Lake and eventually left the small town, met my mom, and moved back there where I grew up. Sandy Lake is this very small town just outside of Riding Mountain where a lot of Ukrainians settled when they came over because it was so similar to the Ukrainian foothills in the Hutsul Mountains. It's a beautiful little area and just, well, full of Ukrainians. I moved to Winnipeg because, well, being an incredibly small town of about 300 people, there were only a certain amount of opportunities, so I decided to make my way to the big city of Winnipeg. When I was younger, I was part of Shevchenko Ukrainian Dance Ensemble, and my friends were dancing as well. But eventually I stopped dancing, and my friends, their families moved away for more opportunity from the small town to Winnipeg. And when I wanted to seek more opportunity and came to the city, I reconnected with them. And when we were visiting each other, I often had to visit them at dance practice. And eventually, after a few visits, Karis, our choreographer, said, well, bring shorts next time. Just join us. And I've been dancing ever since for 7 years now. I really enjoyed it, and it was a great place to connect with other people, and also for the physical aspect of keeping myself in shape and honing a new old skill of mine that I haven't done for a while. We have been performing all over Winnipeg area and in a bunch of small communities outside, like Gardenton, who holds an annual Ukrainian festival, as well as the Spirit of Ukraine Pavilion for Folklorama. And I've also had the opportunity, I believe it was 5 or 6 years ago, to go to Ukraine and work with the dance ensembles there to further my skills in Ukrainian dance and to learn more about the culture and heritage behind it. We started in Kiev, and we actually got to go to the studio of Versky, which is the country's most prominent Ukrainian dance ensemble, and dance with a few of their instructors, and it was amazing. And then we worked our way out of the city, visiting a few small communities, and just, so much. It was absolutely beautiful, and apart from the mountains in the background, it was so similar to Manitoba. I could see why so many Ukrainians settled in the prairies, because it was almost like home. What my culture means to me, well, it's a connection to my community and my past. Just learning more and just, just enriching my life and just adding to it as I continue on these dances and these traditions.
I'm 20 years old. I currently study at the University of St. Boniface, and I'm a Ukrainian dancer and instructor at the Zoloto Ukrainian Dance Company. My parents danced with Zolato, so I've been in the studio since I was about 3 years old. I grew up in the studio. My mom always jokes that I went from crawling to dancing. There's nothing in between. And I'm primarily a dancer. I'm continuously learning about the steps and how I can stay connected to my heritage while also passing that on to younger dancers at the studio. My mom is again, a retired dancer. So right now she is an instructor and is our fundraising coordinator. My dad is a little bit less involved with the dance company, but every year at Folklorama he's also emceeing and making sure everyone's on top of their stuff. It's like a second family here. My mom started dancing here at the age of 16, and then when she started dating my dad, he started dancing, and they both love it here. They put all their kids in Ukrainian dance with the studio. And yeah, it's like we're a big happy family, and they love it here. I grew up in the studio, so from a very young age I was always here learning basic Ukrainian dance steps, following my parents while they're dancing. And it's just been a very positive experience for me. I've created lifelong friends, and again, I found my second family, and I cherish every moment and experience I have with the studio. For me, culture is a way of expression. It's how you show people where you're from and your ancestry. And through Ukrainian dance, I'm able to stay connected with my heritage while also showing my love for Ukrainian culture. I would honestly say just do it. It's so much fun. The group here, we welcome new dancers. You don't even have to be Ukrainian. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and just the experience of it all is amazing.
My name is Dustin. A little bit about me. I have danced with Zolato for well over a decade. I have been Ukrainian dancing for well over 20 years, as well as even with Zolato, I've been instructing for over 10 years. So in that time, I've got to kind of really experience a lot of what this dance group has to offer, as well as just Ukrainian dance in general. What I've achieved is, in my time here, I've not only been a dancer, but instructor, choreographer. So getting to develop on that, develop my skills has been amazing. Most notably, I think we traveled to Ukraine a few years ago. So the ability to go there, see how life is like, and be able to dance with companies and see how they work well in Ukraine was incredible. The ability to be able to do something like this, like Ukrainian dance, which has such a strong tie to my family's heritage, is incredible. So I'm very grateful that I get to experience that and be very in-depth in my culture and express it in a way that is very exciting. My mission in Zoloto Ukrainian Dance Company is to continue to develop our dancers at a high level that they already are at. So we want to continue to develop them to maybe even be better than what they currently are, as well as holding true to traditions that date back to Ukraine and how our dance has developed into what it is today. So something like trespass to the younger generation is dance itself. So especially for Ukrainian dance and a lot of high energy dance, it's something that I don't think gets the credibility it always deserves, especially when you compare it to other sports. So if somebody is able to have the opportunity to dance, whether it be Ukrainian or any type of other dance, that is something that I want to encourage, and hopefully the younger generation will continue to take that and run with it.
My name is Deanna Koch. I am a stay-at-home mom to an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. I decided not to go back to work when I've seen that they're a lot more independent. And then I'm also involved in some volunteer projects with the school and with our church and here at Zolato, and so keep myself busy. My children, Ivan and Isabel, dance with the group. They've been here, well, Ivan's been here about 14, 15 years dancing, and my daughter just about 13 years. When my son was 3 years old, my sister-in-law used to dance Ukrainian dance in Dauphin, Manitoba, and I'd asked her to help me look for a dance studio, and we found Zolato. And with my husband growing up in Dauphin, of course he's of Ukrainian heritage, and we thought it was very important to have our children involved. I guess at the time, just my son. So, my husband is, both his parents are grandparents are from Ukraine, and so we just wanted to keep that important piece of cultural heritage in our family. We thought dancing would be one great way of doing it. For us as experience, I mean, it's one great way of expressing your culture. The great thing about Zolato is that not everybody is of Ukrainian culture here as well, so we just have other people here that dance, and it's an educational piece of learning different regions of Ukraine, our background. Not only did we do Ukrainian dancing, but we've also taught kids how to make paska and decorate eggs, and just lots of learning that we've done here.